Hello, this is your English teacher speaking. It's time to check your homework. We'll start with the two questions in exercise 4 on page 97. Question number 1. Robert mentions two bad surprises in his 12th July blog entry. What were they? You can read about both of the problems on page 98. The first problem starts here and the second one here. So, the answer to the first question is, he had a problem at customs. He wasn't expecting that an apple he had left in his bag might end up getting him a huge fine. The second bad surprise was when he met his ex-girlfriend who was staying at the same hostel. Question number 2. How many hours did it take for him to reach his destination? And the answer to this question can also be found on page 98. It took him 23 hours. Now, let's continue with exercise 5 on page 99, which tells you to match the words in red in the 12th July blog entry with their definitions. And it also says that there is one extra word. Number 1. From other countries, overseas. Number 2. Easily and without difficulty, smoothly. 3. Two people who are married or in a romantic relationship, a couple. 4. An insect, animal or plant that is harmful or causes problems, a pest. And do remember, Marilyn has just told us about pests in her Flipgrid video. Thank you, Marilyn. Number 5. To happen, to occur. 6. A doctor who is specially trained to perform medical operations, a surgeon. 7. The place at a port, airport or border where travelers' bags are examined, customs. 8. To move into a new home and to start to feel comfortable there, settle into. 9. Extremely tired, exhausted. And 10. An amount of money that has to be paid as a punishment, a fine. Now, let's go on with exercise 6. You had to translate the Estonian phrases into English with the help of the text. Number 1. Midagi kellelegi teada andma. You can find it on page 97. Just letting you know. And you get the expression, let somebody know. So instead of you use somebody. Let somebody know. Let you know, let me know, let them know. So you can use anyone there. Number 2. Kuhugi kohale jõudma. So the text says, made it safely to Singapore airport. Now instead of made, you use the base form make it. You don't use safely because the text says only kuhugi kohale jõudma. And to take to, and instead of Singapore, you can use just somewhere. And you get the expression, make it to somewhere. Number 3. Kedagi millegagi kursis hoidma. Keep you all up to date with the adventures. What you need from here is keep Then instead of you use somebody. Up to date with. And instead of the adventures, you use something. Keep somebody up to date with something. Now, the next expressions can be found on page 98. Number 4. Midagi pikisilmi ootama. Looking forward to, and instead of this trip you say something. Look forward to something. Hoolimata millestki. Number 5. Despite of something. 6. Tollikontrollist läbi saama. Make it through customs. Number 7. Tolliinspektor. A customs officer. Number 8. Millegagi päädima. End up getting, and instead of getting, you use end up doing something. So instead of getting, you can use any other verb. End up getting, end up working, end up doing something. It can be any other verb. Number 9. Rongiga kuhugi minema. The text says, caught a double-decker train into the city center. You use, instead of caught, catch. You don't use a double-decker, you use only train. Catch a train into somewhere. And instead of this, the city center, you can use any other place. Catch a train to. Number 10. End hostelisse sisse seadma. The text says, I'd settled into the hostel. You use the base form, settle into the hostel, or settle into a hostel. Now, let's move on to exercise 7, and let's finish the sentences. Number 1. Robert's first blog entry was written when he was waiting for the flight to Sydney. 2. He wanted to keep his family and friends up to date with his adventures in Australia. 3. On the flight from London to Singapore, Robert chatted with a couple of Germany. 4. The apprentice mechanic worked for Mercedes-Benz. 5. The medical student was studying to become a surgeon. 6. When Robert arrived at Sydney Airport, he had travelled for 23 hours straight. 7. Australian customs officers are strict. 8. Tourists are not allowed to bring fruit from overseas into Australia. 9. Robert caught the double-decker train into the city centre. 10. His hostel staff were really helpful and friendly. 11. He wasn't glad though when he discovered that his ex-girlfriend was staying in the same hostel. Exercise 9. Another exercise where you had to translate Estonian phrases into English using the text. I have marked the correct expressions in yellow. Number 1. kõigepealt, first of all. Number 2. üsna palju, a fair bit. Number 3. peamine vaatamisväärsus, the main attraction. Number 4. kellegagi ootamatult kohtuma. The text says ran into John, but you have to use the base form run into somebody. Number 5. lähikuude jooksul, over the next few months. Number 6. oma teed minema, go your own way. And the last exercise is number 10 on page 102. 6 questions to answer. Question number 1. Which places did Robert explore first of all in Sydney? I have marked all the answers in blue on this page that you can see right now. So, number 1, Robert says, I explored around the city centre and all around the harbour, which means that first of all, he explored the city centre and the harbour. Question number 2. What does he think about enjoying oneself in the city centre and harbour? And we can read it here. He says, you would need a fair bit of money, however, to really enjoy yourself here. So, it's quite expensive and you need a fair bit of money to really enjoy yourself. Question number 3. What is Robert planning to do on the 15th of July? You can find the answer here. Well, he says that he will have a proper introduction to it tomorrow when he does the full tour. So we might say that he is planning to do a full tour of the Sydney Opera House. Question number 4. What does Robert consider to be a normal part of backpacker life? Well, we can read about it here. This seems to be a normal part of a backpacker life. And you run into friends or make some new ones, then you go your own way and perhaps see them again or the other side of the country or on the other side of the world. Question number 5. Who is Angela and what is she doing in Sydney? And you can read about Angela here. And we find out that Angela is Robert's cousin and she's studying history and journalism in Sydney. Question number 6. How could Angela's friends be helpful to Robert? And Robert says that they could show him around a little and perhaps introduce him to one of the cello teachers. Thank you for listening.